Good morning everyone, today is a discussion video on whether we should be doing server merges or not. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is, of course, what server am I talking about? Am I talking about JP server? Am I talking about global server? Am I talking about both of them? Well, I mainly want to focus on the global server because I have been playing PSO2 ever since the global release in the West. And so I've seen PSO2 evolve in the past 3 years. I've been there for all of the highs, I've been there for all of the lows. And so I just want to share my thoughts on whether we should be doing server merges or not. And to be honest with you guys, I personally think there are two solutions. The first one is just give us a universal ship, just like in the base game, where we can play together with other people from other ships. However, with the way that NGS is designed, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, because a lot of players obviously would like to carry their gear over to the universal ship so that people can play together, you can do urgent quests together and stuff like that. And I think that's a great idea. However, I don't know if the technology is there and if Sega can actually pull it off. So the second solution, which is a lot more feasible, and I know Sega has the technology to do this, is simply to server merge. The reason I say this is because when I've been playing on Ship 4 recently, if I don't make it into the urgent quest, especially Darkfall's Aegis, within the first 10 minutes, if I log in 5 minutes or 10 minutes before the Darkfall's Aegis quest ends, it's very difficult for me to find a party. It takes a very long time with matchmaking. And yes, if you guys watched yesterday's video, I was in a regular block and not in a beginner's block, and it still takes super long, and it's very frustrating because sometimes I just want to do content on Ship 4, but it's so difficult to get a group through matchmaking. You have to do everything through Discord, you have to be social, you need to organize everything beforehand in order to get things going. While on Ship 2, which is my home ship, I really like this ship because we have the players to back it up. I can matchmake anything at any time, and I'm bound to find people within a minute. At most, I need to wait for 1 minute, and then boom, we've got a full group, we're ready to roll. And so my suggestion is, I would like to see the odd number servers get merged together and the even number servers get merged together. The reason I say this specifically is because I know that Ship 1 and Ship 2 are the bigger ships. There are a lot more players on those ships versus Ship 3 and Ship 4, which are slightly smaller ships, so there's less players on those ships. So it only makes sense to merge the big ships with the small ships together so that it averages out. Because if you merge Ship 1 and Ship 2 together, then you have a mega server there versus merging Ship 3 and 4 where you'll only get like a medium-sized ship if you do so. And so it just makes sense to merge the big ships with the small ships, and it'll even things out. And on top of that, another benefit from merging the ships is for the players, where players like myself, which like to play with other people on other ships, is going to make my life a little bit easier since I don't need to spend as much time and resources gearing up all these other characters, which are considered quote-unquote alts, and so they don't have the best gear and they won't be able to carry as hard versus my main character. However, many people have voiced their concerns about the player market, saying that, listen, the player market on X ship is perfectly fine. If you introduce a surge of players coming in, it's going to destroy the market. To be perfectly honest with you guys, the market is already messed up, and adding in more players is only going to help the economy. The more players there are, the more people are going to be farming for things, the lower prices are going to get, the more accessible items are going to be. The main reason why items are so expensive on Ship 3 and Ship 4 is because there are less people farming for those items, and thus there's higher demand and lower supply, and thus resulting in higher prices. Versus on Ship 2, the reason why most things are relatively inexpensive on Ship 2, especially the farmable items, is simply because there's a lot of people farming for those items, so there's higher supply, lower demand, and thus lower prices. So in the macro view, I do believe a server merge will be more beneficial to the player market in the long term. However, I know initially if we do get a server merge, there is going to be growing pains. The economy is going to be messed up for several weeks. People might not get along with each other. There's going to be some sort of conflict for sure. As I said, growing pains. However, in the long term, I do believe it is going to be more beneficial for the game if the player base is consolidated together so that people can play together and people can find other players to to play with. However, we also need to look at Sega's perspective, and Sega might think that doing a server merge might be admitting defeat in a certain way, being like, oh yeah, our player base is dwindling, our player base is dying, which is why we need to server merge. And if we were talking about the JP server, then yes, I would be against a server merge because the JP server is their strongest region. PSO2 was originated from Japan, and thus they have the best support. However, talking about the global server, I do believe a server merge is going to be beneficial to the player base, and I don't think it's like an admit to defeat or anything, because at the end of the day, the main thing that matters is keeping the player base happy so that they continue to spend money to fund your game so that you can continue to provide this live service. And so for the global side, I think it's perfectly fine to do a server merge. I don't think there's going to be a lot of drama on like, oh my god, this game is going to die again, blah blah blah, because to be fair, I think that has already blown over. You know, we had that moment or that phase where people were worried about the game dying. I think that's dispelled. People are fine again, and you know, just do your server merge. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Sure, maybe if the NGS evolution thing doesn't deliver or doesn't meet people's expectations, people are going to get, oh, the game's going to die again, you know, they might do that, or there's going to be some drama on like, oh, I'm going to be quitting this game, screw this game, blah blah blah. But again, in the long term, in the macro view, I don't think NGS is going anywhere. This game is going to be perfectly fine. I would just like to see the player base consolidated together so that we can do activities and play together in a much more easier and more accessible manner. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think?
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!